Can you imagine what it must have been like the night Christ was born? Can you picture in your mind what events took place when God in the flesh came to earth and heaven and earth became one? Things that the heart cannot even perceive nor eyes believe actually happened in that one small moment in time. Imagine, if you will, all the miracles.
The sheer majesty of nature itself, and the one thing God wants to show us is his anus.
And all the creatures were snuggled down for a long, weary night's sleep. How heaven burst forth and showered humanity with the greatest gift it has ever had to offer.
Ronnie James Dio is going to be in this film? That's actually pretty awesome.
Had prophesied would come had finally arrived. A baby was born.
A baby so noble he was constantly in the victory handshake pose.
The Holy Ghost and been born of the Virgin was finally here to dwell among us. All of a sudden, the heavens rejoiced. A single star gravitated from its station in the heavens and came to stand guard and adorn the place of the child's birth. Wise men from the far countries away saw this miraculous event and followed the star to the place where the babe laid.
Is it just me, or did that star seem more than a little bit drunk?
Of the elate angels as they swirled among the stars.
Quickly, lock up there! It's the gayest thing I've ever seen!
And they called this holy baby Jesus. His name means Emmanuel, God with us.
And in later years, that name would go on to mean usually found stood outside Home Depot looking for work. Which actually kind of explains why he was a carpenter. I think I just discovered a conspiracy.
The Bible tells us that Jesus, after being found in the fashion as the Son of Man, grew up to become a servant to us all.
It also tells us that infanticide, genocide, and incest are all fine and that we should throw rocks at gays, but, you know, let's just listen to the sensible stuff, that Jesus is a magical Jew and such. Yeah, makes perfect sense.
One glorious night that we now call Christmas. Can you imagine what Mary, his mother, must have felt in those glorious moments after Jesus' birth?
Well, presumably, if she was a virgin, a hell of a lot of pain and a really messed up vagina.
Softly singing her lullaby to the Son of God. Only moments before his birth, those tiny infant feet had walked the avenues of heaven and the universes.
I'm reasonably certain newborn babies can't walk, darling.
Curled around her finger, had made the stars and the planets and placed them meticulously in space.
Apparently meticulously now means completely at random. Funny that.
And made the mountains to tremble was the voice now heard in her infant son's cry.
I'm hungry, I'm cold, feed me, where's my father?
And now his home was a stable, and his clothing were lowly swaddling cloth.
It's kind of like the life and times of Lindsay Lohan.
Did she ponder the thought that this baby, whom she had just brought forth from her womb, was indeed the one who had created her?
Isn't that kind of incest in a messed up metaphysical sense?
Before she ever knew him, as Mary gazed into the face of the Son of God, did she realize all the miracles that had just taken place that night?
And Joseph pondered and realised that the baby had a striking resemblance to one of his old drinking buddies.
As heaven and earth rejoiced that night, one can only wonder if the animals of the earth also sensed what was happening.
Almost certainly not, but I can't help but escape the feeling that they had a hankering for some baby back ribs.
About the baby who shared their stable and slept in their feeding trough. The heart can only ponder the magnitude of what happened on that first Christmas night.
Most people think with their brains, not with their hearts, although, to be honest, that could actually explain the production standards of this film.
Join us now and let us use our imaginations as we present a play to you about what the creatures in the stable must have seen and heard on the night that Jesus was born.
I imagine they saw bleeding and heard screaming. God is one classy guy.